Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV. We're doing another video outside of the Redmond headquarters. We are still shaveless on this fine Monday Monday afternoon. Again, with the international break, there's never much to talk about, is there? But we have seen advancements or more updates from more journos regarding Ibrahim Konate, which I will talk about today. But also I want to talk about Indy Kayla, the summer of Indy, keeping it going, bringing out a report yesterday that FSG, Fenway Sports Group, are heavily considering, and rightly so, extending Arne Slot's contract, and those talks are expected to begin. I think even Fabrizio Romano commented on it as well, but that's not something that I absolutely want to confirm. In fact, I might be wrong there, to be honest, so take that with a pinch of salt. But Indy Kayla reported, so we'll talk about that and the validity behind it, knowing how much of an interesting summer Indy had. And I think I'll start there because I think you guys understand where my point of view is on the Konate stuff, but I will talk about how I think he is going to be exiting Liverpool. And before I get into that, I want to start off with this report from Indy Kayla. So he came out and essentially said FSG understand there's 2 years left on Arne Slot's deal. They're absolutely desperate to get a new contract signed, and that Arne Slot is delighted with these recent updates that have been given internally within the football club. So first of all, the validity behind it. So we know about Indy. We know historically he's been known as the KFC worker. I do think, despite his sketchy past, I do think he has a fairly good summer. The only thing that I have with Indy is that he'll throw in some absolute golden gems, but it's like one of them, if you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. And I'm not saying that all he does is speak nonsense. It's absolutely factual. Looking at the journalist himself, whoever's got behind that page, and whatever big journalists, that David Ornstein's quoted him, other journalists have quoted Indy as quite an exciting member of the journalist world, if you will, when it comes to football. That's my issue, is all the good stuff that Indy can throw out there and be exclusive with. He also does throw out some mad things. Like, I remember when, about a week before we signed Isak, he put out a tweet saying that Michael Edwards is on the flight to Boston to discuss with FSG around if the money is viable there for Isak, which, again, like, that's just the type of stuff Indy does. That wouldn't have made no sense, because if you think the money that we were willing to spend on Isak hadn't already been discussed and agreed, I'm sorry, but I've got no hope for you. And that was a week before the deal got done. So there would have been no way Michael Edwards was flying out to Boston for the reason of speaking to FSG about if we can use these funds for Alexander Isak. That would have already been agreed. So based on the validity of this, I'm not saying there's no legs. I think there is legs. I would be absolutely gobsmacked if Liverpool weren't to realise he's got 2 years left on his deal, Arne Slot, and weren't willing to renew that deal with the amazing start that he's had. I want Arne Slot to be my manager for the next 5 years. And I do think talks will start soon, but based on the validity of this report, all I'm saying is don't be expecting any super majors to be jumping on it yet. Maybe in about 4 to 8 weeks' time, might start hearing more around that. But right now, it's not going to be accelerating at a rapid rate when it comes to discussing Arne Slot's future. But listen, if you want my opinion on it, and I think I'm going to just share an opinion, or you have as well, Arne Slot needs to be offered a new contract, without a doubt. Give the man insane wages, make him one of the best paid managers in the league, and make sure that you get that extended. Now, the details around what the report is going to be is, I think it's going to be a contract that will be valid until 2029, which you absolutely need to do. I've always had a theory. I don't see Slot doing a Jurgen Klopp tenure. I don't see him doing 9-10 years like the way Jurgen Klopp did, because how often do you really see that happen in management nowadays? But do I think Arne Slot absolutely wants to be the Liverpool manager for as long as he possibly can? I do, because I just think, what's a better exciting project than Liverpool right now if you're Arne Slot? I mean, apparently there was some talk about Bayern Munich keeping one eye on his contract situation and potentially swooping in. But I think we all understand Bayern Munich, despite their recent successes as a football club, they're far behind Liverpool when it comes to infrastructure and progression and, future aspirations. Far behind. The facilities are from the 90s, the nets, like the goal nets, are all being complained about from Vincent Kompany and Harry Kane and all this. I think even Elise was joining in, complaining about the goal nets and the way that they nestle when the ball hits the back of it, and the fact that they're coloured and they should just be standard Premier League level nets, and then Bayern Munich don't see that as a viable option. The point is, Bayern Munich aren't really as serious, or should I say, aren't keeping up as well with the likes of the Premier League clubs who have all this money to put into infrastructure. So that. I don't see any validity to ARNE Slot going. By the way, they were just like little micro reports that I don't think have much substance. So do I think Liverpool are planning a new contract for ARNE Slot? Yes, but I don't think it was particularly an exclusive from Indicala. I think that's always been knowledge by the football club, and that we will eventually go in and offer ARNE Slot a new contract, which will likely be accepted. So what I would say about this particular report from Indicala, it's just one of them. Like I said, if you throw enough at the wall, it's going to make you look good eventually. So don't be surprised to see it tweet in about 5 to 6 weeks. And I like Indicala, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, he's tier 1 on absolutely everything he reports. So that's my clarification there. On to the Konate stuff. As you know, if you didn't see yesterday's video, I discussed everything around Gahey and his situation. Then I went on to Konate as well. And obviously you saw the comments yesterday about Konate when he was asked about, or should I say, when he responded to the journalist with, Mbappe's calling me every 2 hours and, he's wanting me to come to Madrid, basically. Not a great timed comment, not encouraging to see if you're a Liverpool fan who has any sort of desperation to keep Konate at the football club. I don't share that desperation. I do see Konate as replaceable, even though he's an absolutely class centre-back. And I think everyone's gone a bit overboard with his underwhelming performances at the start of this season. I still think he is replaceable, and I think the club see it that way. And for me, he was off the contract a couple of weeks ago. I haven't heard nothing since from him or the club or anything about the advancements on that deal. Liverpool made it quite clear, according to the T1s, that was going to be the final offer. And because that offer hasn't been accepted or rejected, it leads me to think that all signs point towards Konate to Real Madrid. And obviously Real Madrid have made it public about their interest about Konate. That name's been mentioned a few times and it's not been disregarded. So again, that validates their interest. But one thing Tom Little, shout out to Tom Little, he mentioned on a stream and brought to my attention and reminded me of, was that back in October 2024, or it might have been November, Liverpool actually came very close to agreeing a deal with Konate, and then Konate changed his stance and said, actually, them demands aren't going to suit me. Though originally, apparently it was very close to being agreed. And if you look at the Trent saga, it really started picking up Trent to Real Madrid about 18 months before that move actually materialised. And I'm just seeing similar patterns, because Real Madrid haven't just done this to Liverpool. They've got plenty of players for free. Like, it was the worst kept secret of all time. Mbappe was going to be going to Real Madrid for the best part of about 2 or 3 years. All the more, or should I say all the less, when it's someone like Konate who doesn't have that name value or whatever. But again, am I seeing a bit of a Trent 2.0 in terms of how it's playing out? Yes, I am. From Konate's side. So going from nearly extending to not extending, and then now everything's just going weird when it comes to contract talks. I also do believe, and I really do believe this, I just think Konate is seeing if he can get terms that's deemed viable. But what I like about this is that the club aren't folding. The language that was used in Joyce's article, and I always say this, when you listen to Joyce, what is Michael Edwards and Hughes trying to tell us as Liverpool fans? And I think that was just a statement of, we're not going to be played about, we're not going to be pushed around, we're not going to go and meet absolutely outrageous demands that we don't deem suitable to Konate, and therefore, if he runs out his contract, we're not going to go chasing him. And that type of language, that type of stance, is what I think is the right way to do it, and it also nullifies any potential chance of this happening in future. I think because of the transition at the top, we went from Klopp and Škramatka, then they left, and then obviously you got Edwards and the data nerds back in play. Obviously, you couldn't preempt this from happening in a way. You couldn't stop this from happening before it even became a thing. However, now that it is a thing, I just don't know if Real Madrid have already done all the groundwork on Konate, which again, this is just my opinion. I believe they have done the groundwork. So do I think Konate will be going to Real Madrid? From his side, I think that's what he wants. From our side, we're not going to chase him and pay him X's amount of money, any random amount of money, just because it makes him happy. That's not how we want to run as a football club. That's not how the data nerds have ever done it. And I don't care how much money Liverpool have in their bank account. I agree with the premise, because it's about the premise. It's not about can we afford it. It's about making sure that in future players understand this is your contract. This is how we're going to let it play out. And if you run it down, so be it to you, but we're not going to come and chase you. And I think that's a good precedent to set. So I think all things point to Konate going to Real Madrid. If I had to put a bet on it, I'd honestly say I'm about 85 to 90% confident that it happens. If I'm wrong, I'll be pleasantly surprised, because then that means you keep Konate, and then I still believe we're going to get Gahey, so you get him coming in as well. But I just do think what's going to make the Gahey deal a little bit easier is that Konate exit, and I just don't think we're close to agreeing terms yet from the club side or Konate's, and I don't see that resolution being met soon, because as I said earlier, as reported weeks ago, the last offer has already been made. So let's see how it unfolds. Do you think Konate will be wearing the Liverpool shirt next season, or are you more on the side with me that he's going to go? Also, what do you think about Indy's report on ARNE Slot signing a new contract? Do you think he's just throwing shit at the wall and he's hoping it sticks, and in 6 weeks' time someone tweets that contract talks have begun, so then he can retweet it to look good? Or do you just think he's just absolutely in the know on everything and he gets it? Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Bum fluff should be gone the next time you see me, but no promises are ever going to be made. Who am I trying to impress anyway? You know what I mean? Are you my future wife? No, you're a James Redmond TV subscriber. Relax. Anyway, love yous. See you later.